the most shocking and real stories are here. Subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any. The truth will surprise you. Luis, an 18-year-old young man, was the pride of his family. Responsible, dedicated to his studies, and with a strong sense of justice, he had always admired his father, Antonio, a hard-working and devoted man. His mother, Elena, was a charming, charismatic woman who seemed fully committed to her family. However, something had changed in recent months. Luis began noticing strange behavior in his mother. She spent more time on her phone, laughed to herself while reading messages, and sometimes left the house without much explanation. At first, he ignored it, but a nagging feeling started to take hold of him. Something was off. One night, while resting in his room, he received a message from a friend that made him freeze. "Look at this," the text read, accompanied by a screenshot. His friend had been browsing Tinder and, to his surprise, had come across a profile of a woman who looked very familiar. A chill ran down Luis's spine as he saw the photo. It was his mother. His breathing quickened. Maybe it was a coincidence, someone who looked like her. But when he opened the app on his own phone and searched through nearby profiles, all doubt vanished. There was Elena, smiling radiantly in several recent photos. But what disturbed him the most was her profile description, looking for excitement and adventure. Discretion above all. Luis felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. His mother, the woman who always spoke about values and fidelity, was on a dating app looking for other men. His mind filled with questions, his chest tightened with confusion. How long had she been doing this? Why? Did his father know anything? It was impossible. Antonio was a noble, devoted man. He would never suspect something like this. For a moment, Luis considered the possibility that it was all a mistake, but he couldn't ignore what he had seen with his own eyes. He felt like his entire world was shaking. He decided he couldn't just sit back. He needed answers. And he was willing to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. Luis felt like his world was collapsing. He couldn't understand how his mother, the woman who always preached about the importance of family and fidelity, could be doing something like this. But beyond the initial shock, Luis needed proof. He couldn't accuse her without being completely sure. From that moment on, he started paying closer attention to her. He noticed that she spent a lot of time on her phone, typing messages and smiling suspiciously. On several occasions, he saw her step out onto the balcony to talk in a low voice, something she had never done before. He also noticed that when his father was home, she acted differently, more distant and evasive. Luis decided to take more drastic measures. One night, while his mother was sleeping and her phone was on the nightstand, he mustered the courage to carefully take it. His heart pounded as he tried to unlock it, but it was password protected. He sighed in frustration, but this only increased his suspicions. Since when had Elena been so protective of her privacy? Another day, he followed her when she said she was going shopping at the mall. From a distance, he watched as instead of entering a store, she met up with a man. They talked for several minutes. She smiled, flirted. A knot formed in Luis's throat. He could no longer deny it. His mother was betraying his father. Determined to uncover the truth, Luis created a fake Tinder profile using the identity of an attractive and charismatic man. He used fake but believable pictures and started browsing profiles until he found his mother's. His heart pounded as he hit the like button. To his surprise, Elena quickly matched with him. The first conversation was casual, full of compliments and charming phrases. However, as the days passed, the conversation became more personal. Luis felt a mix of horror and curiosity as his mother talked about how unhappy she was in her marriage and how much she longed for excitement in her life. Each message felt like a stab to Luis's heart. The worst part came when Elena started sending pictures. At first, they were innocent selfies in her room, pictures of her morning coffee. But soon, they became more daring. Luis could hardly believe what he was seeing. His own mother was sending provocative photos, unaware that the person on the other side of the screen was her own son. Luis knew he had to stop, but his need to know how far she was willing to go kept him going. He suggested meeting in person, and after hesitating for a moment, Elena agreed. The time had come to face reality. Luis could no longer keep hiding the truth. Every night, he went to bed with his mind full of questions, his heart pounding with rage and helplessness. His mother, the person who had always spoken to him about principles and values, had been caught in a lie. But confronting her would not be easy. He knew that conversation could change everything forever. He decided that tonight would be the night. His father was working late, which meant they would be alone. He paced back and forth in his room, gathering the courage he needed. Finally, with his phone in hand, holding all the evidence, he stepped out with determination. He found his mother in the living room, sitting on the couch with a glass of wine in her hand, her gaze lost in the television. He took a deep breath before speaking. "Mom, we need to talk." Elena turned to look at him, noticing the tension in his voice. She set the glass down on the table and furrowed her brow. "Of course, son. What's wrong?" Luis didn't answer immediately. Images, conversations, messages, photos all flashed through his mind. His stomach churned, but there was no turning back now. Without a word, he unlocked his phone and held it out to her. Elena leaned in for a better look, but her face instantly paled. Her eyes scanned the screenshots, moving from horror to disbelief and finally to fear. "What is this?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "You tell me, Mom," Luis replied, his tone cold and controlled. Elena looked away from the screen, but her son wasn't going to let her escape. "Don't try to deny it," Luis said, his voice cracking slightly, but he forced himself to stay firm. "I saw you on Tinder. I saw you with that man at the mall. You wrote to my fake profile without hesitation. And then, you sent me those photos. How could you?" Elena covered her mouth, stifling a sob. Her face was contorted with distress, and her eyes welled up with tears. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. "How long?" Luis felt his throat tighten. "How long have you been cheating on Dad?" Elena shook her head, but she couldn't deny the truth. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered. "Luis, I never wanted you to find out about this." "But you did it," he interrupted, stepping back as if the distance could lessen the pain. "And not just to me, you did it to him. To Dad. He loves you, Mom. He trusts you. And you were about to look him in the eye and keep lying." Elena wept uncontrollably. She buried her face in her hands, and between sobs, she tried to explain. "It's not that simple. I felt lonely, empty. He doesn't look at me the way he used to, he doesn't touch me, he doesn't make me feel alive." Luis felt a wave of disgust. His fists clenched tightly. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. "And that's your excuse? That's your justification for destroying your family?" Elena tried to reach for him, but Luis immediately stepped back. There was love in his eyes, but there was also something broken, something that could never be repaired. "Tell me one thing," Luis whispered, feeling a lump in his throat. "Did you ever think about what would happen if you got caught? If Dad found out?" Elena didn't answer. Her silence said it all. Luis felt like he couldn't stay there any longer. He turned away, his lungs heavy with the weight of it all, and without another word, he walked out of the house. He needed to breathe, to escape the reality that was suffocating him. That night, as he wandered aimlessly, Luis made a decision. He couldn't keep this secret. His father deserved to know the truth. And even if it meant breaking his family into pieces, lying was no longer an option. Elena tried to justify herself, saying she felt lonely, that her marriage had lost its spark, and that she was just looking for a distraction. Her voice trembled, her hands clenched. But Luis couldn't accept her excuses. The only thing that mattered was her betrayal of his father. The pent-up rage exploded in his chest, and unable to hold back, he shouted, "How could you do this to Dad?" Elena started crying, but Luis felt no compassion. His mind swirled with dark thoughts, unanswered questions. How long had she been doing this? How many men had she met this way? Every word his mother spoke only fueled his fury. Luis, I just wanted someone to make me feel alive again. Luis felt his stomach churn. He couldn't take it anymore. He abruptly got up from the table and left the house, needing air, space, anything to distance himself from that suffocating confession. When he returned, Elena was sitting on the couch, her eyes swollen from crying. But Luis had already made his decision. I'm going to tell Dad everything, he said coldly. Elena sobbed harder, begging him not to. She tried to grab his arm, but Luis pushed her away. There was nothing left to say. The betrayal was already done, and the damage was irreparable. After days of tension, Luis decided to talk to his father. Antonio was devastated upon hearing the truth but thanked his son for his honesty. The family would never be the same again, but the truth, however painful, was better than living a lie. Antonio and Elena separated, but over time, they found peace. Luis learned that the truth can be painful but is always necessary. Though his family changed, he never lost his love for his father, or his hope that one day, everything would get better.